So our topic at hand today is we are continuing our OEM-specific ADAS training, and this week's OEM is Tesla. Now, if you're aware of how Tesla does things, it's a little bit different than everybody else in the industry. They have numerous cameras and sensors, mostly cameras. It seems like they rely on the cameras a lot in order to have their ADAS functions. So they call their ADAS functions autopilot. So autopilot uses the cameras on Model S. I just took this out of the Model S owner's manual. It would apply to all their different models. It monitors the surrounding area, then detect other vehicles, pedestrians, road markings, and obstacles such as barriers and curbs. There are cameras mounted on the front, rear, left, and right sides of the car. Model S may be equipped with a cabin camera as well. They have cabin cameras mounted in the rearview mirror that monitors driver attentiveness. It's your responsibility to keep your hands on the wheel, pay attention to the road, and be ready to take immediate action at any time. So it's not fully autopilot if you think about it. When autopilot's engaged, Model S now shows a series of escalating warnings reminding you to keep your hands on the wheel and pay attention to the road. If there is no response, autopilot disengages and is unavailable for the remainder of the drive. Right, so autopilot is designed for driving comfort and convenience and is not a collision warning or avoidance system. It is your responsibility to stay alert, drive safely, and be in control of the vehicle at all times. Never depend on autopilot to adequately slow down the car. Always watch the road in front of you and prepare to take corrective actions at all times. Failure to do so can result in serious injury or death, which makes sense. Always be paying attention no matter what you have for ADAS in the car. Even if it's the most sophisticated system in the world, you still need to be paying attention. Don't be reading the paper on the way, right? So we're going to talk through the different models, and you will notice that there's going to be a running theme kind of through these. Some of the older ones had some mid-year changes and things like that, because another thing about Tesla is they technically don't really use model years as such, because they'll make running changes on, maybe they change the camera model or they change the radar module or whatever. They'll just change modules or do firmware updates, whenever mid-year, could be March or January or August. It doesn't really matter. So I guess it's just kind of when they're built as to what they say, what model year it is. But technically, they make running changes all throughout. So we're going to start with the 2023 Model Y. And on that, as far as we can tell from the service information anyways, 2 radars, front exterior and an interior radar, which is a fairly new thing for them. 7 cameras, got the front view camera, the rear view camera, and then of course your 360-degree view cameras around. And it also has an interior camera. Also has 12 ultrasonic sensors. It gives you front and rear park assist plus parking, automatic parking, and the summon feature where you can summon the vehicle to your location with the app as well. So uses all these sensors. It's mostly relying on visual with the camera, as we can see here, because they do use, depending on where we were at in the product cycle, it either uses a double camera, which is shown here, or a triple camera in the front. So that's the high mounted one up in the windshield. So it gets a very wide field of view by doing that. We can see down the road and off to the sides a bit with that. Gives a good range. And this is really the only one that I could find that really requires a target. And they require the same target across all the models, which is nice. In this case, this is checking for pitch and inclination. And it gives you a couple steps as to where you need to line it up with the hood of the car and things like that. We're going to walk through the service information a bit here when we go live. But yeah, pretty much as far as I could see, pretty much the same target across the board from early till now. So that's helpful. Like I said, there's also an interior camera in there. So they use that for driver attentiveness. All right. Other manufacturers do that too. They might put it in a different spot, but this has cameras and radars and all sorts of stuff just up in that mirror area. So this one has it kind of looking back at you, so it can see whether or not you're looking at the road or not. Also can use it for passenger detection to a point. Rear camera is going to be in the rear gate handle. Nothing really different about that. No recalibration needed on that either. Auto recalibrate. On the model I looked up, it has the 360 cameras in the side, like the repeaters where the lights are in the fenders there. So there's 360 camera, one on each side with that. So that's kind of where that is. That's that whole light assembly. So there's the light. There's the light. There's the camera. Right. And it also has a front radar in the middle. So clips in. There are a couple adjustments need to be made with that, but no targets on that. So that's kind of an automatic set it and drive it down the road type of thing again with that. And then as far as the interior radar, like I said, that is a newer addition to Teslas, not just the Model Y, but it's around 23 is when they started coming in. And they didn't really turn it on until recently. And what they're using it for is passenger presence detection. So they can get a better look, kind of see who's where in the vehicle. And they say it's because they want to be able to intelligently deploy the airbags in a crash. So if there's nobody in the passenger seat and it doesn't detect anybody in the passenger seat, then it will do so. That solves the problem of most manufacturers use like a pressure system in the passenger seat to turn the seatbelt chime on and decide whether to deploy the passenger airbag. But if I have heavy books or a package or something that goes over that weight in the passenger seat, then it still might deploy the airbag or what, and wouldn't be necessary. So a radar would be able to tell whether or not it's a package or a person. So that's their plan anyways, as far as I could see. I think right now it's just for the front seats. They're going to work on back seats as well. So that was just kind of an interesting, unique thing. I'd never seen any other manufacturer do that. So I wanted to put that in there for sure. And then they have park assist. So there's 12 park assist sensors. 1 through 6 are on the front, 7 through 12 are on the back. And it's used for both parking assist with when I'm driving parking and also for the automated parking and the summon feature when you can pull it out of the parking spot with that. Next is the 2022 Model 3. You'll see it's going to be very similar. So this one has one radar. It's a front exterior. Doesn't have the interior radar on this one because it's the lower model. 7 cameras once again, and 12 ultrasonic sensors in there for the park assist. So there's the triple camera. That's what that one looks like. So you'll notice many of the models use the same camera. Same with the interior camera for driver attentiveness. That's going to be in the shroud that covers that 3-way camera. So they actually call that a 4-way camera cover is what they call it on the service information. Once again, for driver attentiveness. And then the rear camera, same deal. It's going to be in the handle. And then the 360 cameras on this one, they're in the B pillars. So instead of being in the front on the turn signals, it's up in the B pillar, and you have to take the B pillar apart in order to get to it. And take a look at one of those too. And then front radar, it's going to be mounted behind the bumper as usual. All of these, you need to remove the bumper in order to get to this too. It's not like an easy thing where you just pop the grill off or anything, because they really don't have grills. So you pull the whole front fascia off in order to get to these. So it's a bit of a task. It's like 25 steps before you even get to the actual radar. We can see that in a little bit too. And then once again, same deal. It's going to have 12 park assist sensors around for the same types of operation we discussed on the Model Y there. Now we'll go a little older to a 2016 Model S. So this is where they kind of had a mid-year change. So with one front exterior radar, nothing in the interior. Front view, rear view, 360 view, and interior cameras, depending on how it is set up. It could have a monoscopic camera on the front, or it can have the triple camera on the front, depending on the year, or depending on where in the year it was, should I say. And then 12 ultrasonic sensors around. So you can see they carry along a lot of the same stuff. So if you know how to program one or reset one, you can relearn the others. There's a early front camera, so that's a monoscopic, so it's just a single camera. And then the triple camera is here. It looks very similar to the one that we just saw. And that's for the later version of that. And then once again, it's going to have that. It's going to have that target. In this case, it's telling us how high off the floor we want it. And then you put it up against the front of the vehicle, and then it can check the inclination on the camera and reset it. Front radar is going to be very similar to the others. It has a horizontal and vertical adjustment, which you can adjust with Allen wrenches or Torx wrenches. And it just comes unclipped there. They're showing how to unclip it from the bracket in that case. And like I said, you do have to pull off the front fascia in order to get to it. And it's a fair task. Starts with opening the frunk and then taking a bunch of trim off and this, that, and the other. It takes like 20 steps, like I said, in order to even get to it. So it sounds like a bit of a hassle, but hopefully you don't have to replace them too often. And then in this case, this also has the side cameras and the B pillars. So you have to take the B pillars apart in order to get to them. And then park assist is going to be just in the bumper. Like I said, 12 of them, 6 in the front, 6 in the rear, just like all the others. And there's just a different look at the sensor that they happen to have with the 2016. So there's your connector, and there's where it mounts into the bumper. And then last vehicle we're going to go through is the 2017 Model X. So this has one front radar, 7 cameras, and 12 ultrasonic sensors, just like all the others. So a lot of continuity between, which I think is nice. So it's unlike some other manufacturers where you might have 5 different camera versions they use and 3 different radars that they use. So it's a bunch of different steps in order to go through it. And you got to watch the little variances. On this, it's really just, they're going to give you date ranges as to where this applies or this applies. So helpful. And then we have the front camera is going to be the triple camera once again. And the front radar is going to be a similar type deal where it's mounted behind the whole fascia there. And once again, it clips in place. You're going to see that every picture of the radar pretty much looks like the same radar, and I bet you it is the same unit that they used. All right, now, another thing that they do uniquely at Tesla is they, not all of them have an OBD2 port. So S and X models would have an OBD2 port until 2020. And then the 3 and Y models have a proprietary connector. However, 2025 and up, I think they started mid-2024 actually, went back to an OBD2 port, and then they used DOIP for the data connection. So depending on how the car is set up or what car it is or what year it is, you may be able to do it through an OBD2 connector. A lot of it gets done through the touchscreen actually in the car. You enter a service mode, and then you can go in, you can do a lot of things in there. For more involved things like, for example, ADAS stuff mainly, there's also a service mode plus that you can enter with the diagnostic software that they have. So you put it on a laptop, and then most of the time it's just an RJ45 connector plugged into an Ethernet port on the car, and then it'll communicate with the car that way. They actually lowered their prices. So if you saw my OEM-specific Tesla back last year around this time, the prices were higher for the daily, monthly, and annually. So I guess that's pretty nice. It went down. So if I did need to do anything with it, I can go in. If I only see a Tesla every once in a while, I can just pay $75, pass it along to the customer as a sublet or whatever, and then have the info available. Service info is readily available on ShopKey Mitchell. We definitely have that. We're going to see that in a minute. And then service.tesla.com has some information available. And then also you can get additional information included with that diagnostic software subscription. And then diagnostic strategy is according to Tesla's website. So there are many tools that could be used to diagnose a Tesla. Some are offered by Tesla, such as using the free diagnostic software application called Service Mode. That is equipped on all Tesla vehicles and runs on the touchscreen, like I said. So you can do a lot of work in the touchscreen, but not everything. And then purchasing a diagnostic software subscription for access to Toolbox and additional tools or resources. Alternatively, a diagnostic scan tool can be purchased from a third party like Zapon. However, in order to do some of these things, you're going to see that you do need the factory tooling in order to do it. Below is a recommended process to diagnose a Tesla vehicle. Enter service mode following instructions to the service manual and service modes. We also have that documented inside the scan tool. I'll show you that in a minute. And then use service mode to view the recently inserted alerts on the vehicle. Then read the troubleshooting description on the touchscreen within service mode. If the path to repair is still unclear, purchase a diagnostic software subscription to access the diagnostic article for the alert within Toolbox to view more information and common possible causes. They are well documented. I will give them that. Because basically what we have on ShopKey is their documentation from that. So let's go live and we'll take a look at a couple of them. So let's go with the early one first, and we'll do the Model S. And as far as scanner functions, we can go in there at all our active ECUs if you want. I'll just do all of them because we're in demo mode. And then there's our autopilot driver assist system. So we can clear codes, and then the special functions amount to resetting the ECU, hard, soft, and just an overall ECU reset. So you might have to do that at some point where there's a lot of the solutions to their problems seem to be basically unplug and plug it back in, which would be a hard reset. Just reset the thing and see if it fixes itself, which I would imagine fairly amount of times that would work. And then it's going to be very similar for like the other sensors, like the radar, it's hard and soft resets. But if we go into ShopKey, and we go into the service manual here, we can go into the ADAS system, and it's going to give us all the different modules. So like the radar sensor, Calibration for the front radar sensor you might be needed. And there's, like I said, there's the through April 10th, 2016, April 10th through August 20th, 2017, and after 2017. It's going to tell you what you need for it, depending on what radar they used, apparently. So you come down here, remove the fascia assembly. Early driver assist systems 1.0 and 2.0 need vertical alignment before service drive alignment. And service drive alignment is going to be done with the scan tool. So first step, it's going to tell you use a bubble level to measure the vertical alignment there, and then you can adjust the screw if you need to. And then let's see, and then there's another horizontal, or I guess this is a different one, right? So between April and August, it's going to be a different screw. So this one, the screws on the front, this one, the screws on the top. Same thing with the bubble level, though. Connect the laptop to the diagnostic port, then use toolbox 3 to locally connect to the vehicle. Unlock the gateway, which you can also do with the scan tool. Shift vehicle to park using toolbox 3. Go to the routine. So depending on what it is, either Bosch service drive alignment or service drive alignment, depending on what it is. And basically, you're going to adjust it based on toolbox output. So whatever it tells you, however off it is, you're going to use the screws to adjust clockwise or counterclockwise, and it tells you based on a looks like an eighth of a turn. So it'll give you in eighth of a turn steps. So eighth, quarter, so on. Adjust the alignment screw on the left side of the radar sensor. So that's the horizontal adjustment, or the left side on this one. So depending on what it is. And then the newer ones is going to be an adjustment there as well. Just going to depend on which one you have. And it gets all the way down to step 15 and perform a road test to check autopilot and traffic aware cruise. So once it's all done, make sure there's no DTCs and so on. Camera, depending on what it is. So let's see, calibration, drive cycle calibration for the forward-facing camera. First generation autopilots, that'd be early production. And then in this case, you're going to go to camera calibration and then start, and then you're going to drive the vehicle. So it's putting it in calibration mode and then you drive it. Pitch verifications for the newer triple cameras, and that is using the target. So there's the target there. Let's see, main and narrow views determine the top edge of the tape is between +1 and -3 green degree lines. And that's going to be in the service tools as well for pre-calibration. So you're going to look at the image output and make sure it's in between those two lines. And then second generation autopilot, it's going to be a little different. Yeah, pitch verification, there it is. So that's going to be use the target, push it up against the front of the car, make sure it's at a certain 130 centimeters from the ground at the bottom of it, and then just double check your pitch as well. And then as long as that's good, drive the car, should fix it. B-pillar cameras are interesting. So, because the trim is a little weird how they do it. So they call it a trim panel. Right, so you remove the trim panels, a couple clips, and then there's the camera right there. In there. And there's adhesive that holds it on as well. So. And then you can clear the calibration with that, and then it'll just automatically calibrate with that too. So a couple different ways to do it. Let's go to a newer model as well. Let's pull up the 23. Because with the 23, like I said, that doesn't have an OBD2 port, so you're going to either use the touchscreen or you use Toolbox. And in this case, you pop into the 23, and then you have service mode and gateway. So service mode is going to tell you how to get in there. So it's going to tell you what to touch on the touchscreen. Controls, software, and an image of the vehicle is displayed. Touch and hold the large Model Y or Model X or whatever it happens to be for 2 seconds, then release, and then you type service in the code, and then touch OK, and that gets you in service mode. And then if you need to do the gateway, which gives you a little further, you have to be in service mode and press and hold the brake pedal and push the hold the turn stalk fully up for at least 10 seconds, and then it will be unlocked. And then you need to lock it after. And then if we go into service information, it's going to be very much the same as the 2016 Model S. There's slight variables. So we go into service menu, ADAS. And then we can see radar sensor, for example, interior radar sensor, right? So that is actually in the headliner. So you got to pull down the headliner in order to get to it. And then it has a captive bolt right there, and then a clip that holds it in. Front camera on this is going to be, let's see, pitch verification only. So that's the triple camera that's up front. And then adjust in service mode, you can actually do that. So in service mode through the touchscreen, you can do this: touch driver assist, touch cameras, clear camera calibration, forward facing, then select run, and then reset it and select run and then close. And then pitch verification to put the verification lines on the display, and then you're going to use the same target. Make sure it's in between the two lines. So you still need a target to do it, but you can do it with the touchscreen actually. So that's kind of nice. Depends on what hardware it has too. That's how you're going to do it. So just make sure that you are looking at dates and verifying what it is. But it seems pretty straightforward. As long as you download that toolbox software, it's pretty straightforward in order to do that. Parking sensors don't require anything. The cameras, depending on what camera it is, does. Radar, it's once again going to be pitch. So let's say front radar calibration. Let's see. Radar calibration dashboard. Put it in plant mode. Run the calibration routine. Press the brake pedal, shift into drive, run it. Release the brake pedal, make sure no rare alerts. Test drive shows the vehicle to track poorly or pull to one side. Make sure you do an alignment. Re-enable pin to drive was previously disabled. So fairly straightforward, it seems. And like I said, they use very similar equipment across the range, which of course helps with costs and all that. So if you're going to do Tesla recalibrations, Toolbox is probably the way to go if it's only a day. Year looks pretty inexpensive compared to the daily rate. Depends on how many you're going to do, I guess. But that seems to be the best service option. And like I said, we can even do some with it without it with the touchscreen. So always read through the information first to verify what you're going to be doing, where you're going to be going before you do it. But like I said, it seems pretty straightforward. There's really only one target that I could find involved in any of that. So very little bit of tooling for it too. So that is ADAS on Tesla. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about next week. So next week, we are on EVAP system diagnosis. Haven't talked about that for about a year. So we're going to talk through, kind of how the system works, the different components, and how we're going to diagnose and fix those pesky EVAP problems. So join me again every Tuesday, as always, 6 and 9 Eastern. Go to snapon.com/OT if you want to join on Zoom. Otherwise, the 6 p.m. Eastern class goes live to our YouTube channel. So it's youtube.com/snapon-diagnostics. If you scan that QR code right there, that will bring you to the channel and automatically subscribe you. If you are watching on YouTube, please make sure you like and subscribe. A lot of people who watch our videos are not subscribed to the channel. So it would be helpful so they'll know anytime we post a new video. And then the 9 p.m. Eastern class goes live to our Facebook page. So it's Snap-on Diagnostics training, product and training. That's what that is. And that's at 9 p.m. Eastern. So you can check it out there. Any of the other episodes in this series, anywhere from intro to ADAS to misfire diagnosis and everything in between, this is going to be episode 125 when it gets posted. So yeah, all free, all roughly half hour, 40 minutes or so, depending on the content. And like I said, it's all free if you want to get some free diagnostic training. That's a good way to go. Once again, youtube.com/Snap-on Diagnostics. Next one is, do we have your email address? If we don't have your email address, you may be missing out on some important announcements and important diagnostic-related stuff like technical focus articles, SureTrack blogs, quick tips, new product releases. They'll send out my schedule periodically so you know what classes are coming up and so on. So if you scan that QR code on the screen, that'll bring you to a form you can fill out, put all your particulars in there, and then you'll start receiving these emails right along the way. Here's an example one of diagnosing a stretch timing chain, right? So useful information, and it's only like once or twice a week, maybe, depends on what's going on. It's usually a couple times a month. I know we do like a tech focus article once a month, SureTrack blog once a month. So we're not going to spam you 5 times a day like some people do. So worth it if you want that extra free information. Time for questions. As I said at the beginning, this is a pre-recorded session this week as I am traveling, but if you're on Zoom and you have a question, you can always reply to the confirmation email you got from Zoom. That'll go right to our inbox. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment. And if you're on Facebook, feel free to leave a comment as well. So with that, that is my time here. So I'd like to thank you very much for spending a little bit of time with me. Hopefully you learned a little bit about the ins and outs of ADAS on Tesla. Hopefully you'll join me next week for EVAP. And with that, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. Have a nice night and take care.